You're listening to the Two Sleuth Podcast, all about the business of dentistry. Hosted by yours truly, Greg Essenmacher, a fixed full arch dental expert and founder of G&A Consult, speaking with industry leaders on the dental landscape from their perspective. Welcome back, everyone. Greg Essenmacher, you know me, your host here at the Two Sleuth Podcast. I'm really excited. Well, let me tell you why I'm excited, everyone. Whenever I get a fellow Michigander, a Lions fan, and a Michigan Wolverine on the show, you know it's going to be good. So welcome to the show, Guy Flannery. Although we have had some pre-show conversation, I may slip in Guy every once in a while because of his history and his past. So Guy Flannery graduated from the University of Michigan, Go Blue, Business School. He's got a CPA for the last 10 years. I am really excited to have you on the show, and we're going to dive into a whole bunch of stuff. Welcome to the show, my friend.
I appreciate it, Greg. It's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
I mean, we've had conversations in passing for many, many, many dental shows. I've been in dental 18 years. I think that you've been in for quite a while as well. So why don't you tell my listening audience a little bit about how you and I have come to know each other? Because if we just start out talking about a GPO, I think about 90% of the listening audience shut things off, right? So, and I wanted to get a little bit of juice in there, right? So for all my Buckeye fans like Elijah Desmond, right? So, you know, just to stoke them a little bit and make sure they know and don't tune out right away. So tell briefly a little bit of your story of how you ended up in dental, because I think it was through some client or something that just happened your way.
Yeah, sure. I started, when I graduated from the University of Michigan, I went right to one of the great big CPA firms, Arthur Andersen, which ran into a little bit of a problem with Enron and then got dissected and bought up.
That whole thing.
And it was, I exited before that. So, when I was kind of an experienced kind of small business consulting manager, and I had about 25 clients. And one of my clients was a dental insurance company owned by an independent dentist, and he had started it up. He was a solo practitioner. He got 2 offices, and then I think Ford came to him and said, "Hey, would you participate in this really rich capitated dental program?" He looked at it and said, "Hell no, I'm not going to do that. Why would anybody do that? You don't get to charge for this, and this." So it was a new way of kind of doing dentistry. So then he took it home and he studied it and he said, I think I can make this work. So they couldn't make it work. He actually formed an organization that made it work. He got it into Ford, hourly and salary, GM, and Chrysler at the time. So it was the only healthcare program that was in all 3 of the big 3, hourly and salary. So it was really quite an accomplishment. So then it started to grow. It started out as a smaller dental plan, and it grew to, I think, the largest privately held dental insurance company. And about halfway through, he was looking at growing it. So he bought a light company in California, Oral Health. And with that one, I was the CPA. So I went out and did due diligence and did all this stuff for him. Then it kind of came aboard, and he asked me if I'd come aboard as the CFO of that company. And so I looked at things. I actually went and I had 25 clients, so I was having some fun with that. But when I went out and visited the dental insurance company, I kind of said, "Why should I do this?" And I think the chief legal officer, he goes, "There's a lot of businesses, but people are always going to have teeth." And I thought about that. It was so simple. I go, God, he's right. Other businesses may go away, right? But teeth are going to be here for a long, long time. So, I took him up on the offer and came to work, and we grew that company. And it got to be, we were in 22 states, District of Columbia, one of the largest privately held. And we ended up selling that to United Concordia, which is a dental insurance company in Pennsylvania. And they incorporated it, and they still do. They don't call it what we did, Mighty Dental Plans. They've got it in the United Concordia program, but it's the same program that our company started with. And at that time, we put up about 6 or 7 dental offices right near the plants, the auto plants, to be able to take on, the overflow of people. That's what made our program work really well. And the United Concordia didn't want any of that. They didn't want the dental offices. So we took those dental offices and we started Great Expressions Dental Center, which was to become a large DSO. So I started that from the beginning and we took it up to about 230 offices in 7 or 8 states. And we exited really after 2 private equity infusions. We kind of exited with the second private equity infusion, and our owner was looking to really look at independent dentist. I mean, he started out as an independent dentist. Then we went through the journey of negotiating all these contracts as a DSO, and I did the negotiations. I mean, we negotiated all these contracts, and he was like, independent dentists don't get this stuff. So he wanted to say, I want to give back. He's had 2 successful dental ventures. I want to give back to independent dentists. So I want to form an organization that really kind of can service the 1 to 5 offices, provide them with some console and a little bit of support, and kind of try to level the playing field. So that was the mission of Unified Smiles back in 2012, was we want to help independent dentists, stay independent and thrive. We might have changed a word or 2 here, but that's really still what we do today. We're on a mission to help independent dentists.
Well, I love this story, and the reason why I do is it's 2 reasons. The fun way that you kind of backed into dentistry, because when I do a lot of speaking from the stages, I'll ask in groups or in workshops, I'll ask, so what really drove you into dentistry? What was the inspiration? Especially when I'm speaking just to dentists. Teams is a little different, but was it you're a legacy dentist because you had somebody in your family? Was it that you were an undergrad and you saw some microbe and you got all jazzed about it, and suddenly it's like, maybe I'll go to dental or medical school, right? Or was it something else, right? You wanted to be independently wealthy, and then everybody laughs in the room because we know that that's not necessarily true for most. And so, or was it that you kind of backed your way in, if you're like from the manufacturing side or another vertical like yourself? And that was my story. I was looking into medical device, saw an ad 18 years ago and went for an interview, and I was one of 8 people. And the person who ended up hiring me said, well, there's 7 other people who have experience in dental. Why should I hire you? And my like smarmy attitude, bravado, overconfident answer got me the job. And certainly I did what I said I would do. Like, you're going to wish you had 5 of me a year from now. And I'd actually, my one job turned into 12 within a couple of years, because that's what I do, right? You tell me I can't do something, and I'm that petulant child that, will sit there and bang on that door until I knock it down. So that's one. The other thing that comes to mind, though, that I really, really enjoyed and I want to hone in on, independent practice owner, finds a need, which is in the big 3, they have this need, and then evolving and fast forward in the story. And it's like, well, somebody has to service this with the actual services. So drop some locations around the big 3 plants. And being from Metro Detroit, I know exactly what you're talking about. This is probably 20, 30 years ago, right? To be able to do the pull through. And then once all the things happen, right? So the capitalization, the recap and all of that, then going back and saying, wait a second, let's level the playing field for the little guy. And at G&A Consult, it's one of the advantages of working with us, certainly the teach, coach, and train on the full arch side to be able to level up your team. And then also, but the advantages on the other side, which is the operation side, to be able to get discounted services from suppliers and also from all of these vendors. So an independent guy who's a smaller, right? Independent, right? Maybe not with the buying power of these big groups or DSOs, but when you group it all together of all the clients of G&A Consult that we have, we are a buying group. And we are able to leverage that for all of our smaller clients and some of the medium-sized and bigger ones as a buying group and leverage. And that's really how to leverage how to level the playing field. And that's so important these days with all of the consolidation, because there isn't this, oh, woe is me. You have absolutely no option, sell out, consolidate. Not that, all the M&A that's going on is a horrible thing. Don't get me wrong. But to be able to level the playing field, to give options. Everything in life, you should have options, right? Your personal life, professional life, not this victim mentality, but options. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think when we think about what's going on there, you've got the DSOs, and we were at 230 office DSOs.
Yeah, you were a pretty big one. You exploded into a pretty good size.
It's probably in the 400s now, but I mean, we really got to see everything. We got to see kind of the HR issues. I think one of the things that people lose track of is you got the DSOs. You have people that come into those after college, stay for a bit, but then the upward path, the upward mobility for the really good guys that's limited. There's not all that many jobs. So what you find happening is some of the really talented dentists figure out, okay, I can go out on my own and get 2 bites at the apple. I can get earnings, plus I can get a nice practice valuation that doesn't go to a large DSO. So you get a lot of people that go out. We love those people. Those are the people that come to us. They start out with 1, 2 locations and they grow. And we help them. We went from a few locations to a lot of locations. So we know some of the stuff that happens as you're starting to go through that journey.
Yeah, and that really is key. And those are the practices and the groups and the founders and the CEOs that we're working with as well, because they have that abundance mindset, of the growth mindset, and they understand the value of bringing in people who are experts in their lane, because they know that they can multiply their talent. They know what their skill level is, and to be able to bring in really good talent, because they see that glass ceiling that they're hitting, and they know foundationally, well, most of the time they see that, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time they're learning through, I call them learning opportunities, not mistakes. And they'll get to a certain level that they'll reach out and say, okay, like I've been hitting my head against this glass ceiling like too often. Like, what is it that you do again? Great. Like, let's have a conversation around that. And I like that. So let's transition and talk about how is it now that, with that partner you're talking about, how is it that you're able to, or what you're doing now with Unified Smiles, to be able to help to level that playing field for some of those single practitioners, or small groups, meaning like a handful of locations,
Right.
to be able to get some of that buying power. And then I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, because I know a little bit about Unified Smiles and some of the fears that others have when it comes to a GPO. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So go back. What was the first question that you wanted me to?
Yeah. Let's talk about Unified Smiles and how you're leveling that playing field for some of those smaller single locations, or just a couple of locations, in order to get a stronger buying power when it comes to some of the things they're looking to purchase and reduce their costs on the supply side.
Yeah. So one of the things that we try to do is make sure we're a fit. Sometimes it takes people a little bit to warm up with it. People come in like, this is too good to be true. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing that we get. And with our membership, we really want to have people that understand our program, come into it and embrace it and take advantage of the potential cash flows. We do the overhead reduction. We try to get them to find additional sources of revenue, to do more of things. With your company, we're looking at, if we talk to one of our members and they're doing a little bit of that, the ROI on doing more of that is insane. So we've actually are looking at a couple of different patient financing, because when you do those full arches, you have to have a big capacity. And so we're looking at a couple of companies to bring in, really to help that, because if somebody has the capability of doing that, you want to make sure that and they need a little bit of financing help. We want to make sure we've got that vendor partner that'll do that. So right now we're potentially talking to a couple that we may bring in with high limits, that they can take care of that. But I think just looking at an independent dentist that comes with us, they're managing their dental office. They're trying to get the clinical side. They're trying to do the HR side. They're trying to sign contracts. And when we come in, we don't look at it as, here, we're a GPO, here's a big list of discounts you can get. That's not what the people that participate as partnered vendors are looking for us to do. They want us to be engaged with our members. And a lot of GPOs don't follow that method. They'll give you the discounts, here you go, figure it out. We're really trying to figure out, how can we help them? So each member that comes into Unified Smiles, we kind of treat custom. We try to listen to them during the prospecting stage, make sure they're a fit for Unified Smiles. They come into the member services stage, and we're really trying to develop a customized plan. So our member service team is designated to a particular account. They got to learn about it. They got to become a trusted business advisor. And we typically will try to find 3 to 6 things to start with that are on the member's mind. These are things that I'm concerned about. I'd like to test it. And we try to figure those out. Sometimes it's like, you're doing great. You're industry standard here. You don't need to do anything. Let's look at something else. Then we start to replace things. And over time, it starts to be, they ask us, what would you suggest we look at? And we'll say, well, with certain of our members, we found there's good savings, there's good efficiencies, there's some revenue streams that you could add or delete. We try to figure out where they're looking at. Are they doing implants? Are they doing 5 a year? Do they feel not so confident. We have really great implant companies. They provide us with great discounts on clinical hands-on training. So if we find a member that would like to do more but wants to gain confidence, we can get them in a program that four people, they go do some clinical stuff right on stuff, whether it's cadavers or something else, right? They get to do this training that helps them advance. And a lot of times, if like aligners, people aren't comfortable doing a lot of aligners, we'll try to help them. Is it a study club? Is it somebody that could come into the office and help them? We're trying to not just get partners involved, but try to figure out how to help them do more. They may be doing a little bit, just like with your program. If they do more, it's an insane ROI. So we're really thinking about, if you think of a dental office P&L from my CPA background, we're looking at helping them with the revenues, helping them with the overhead. So our program does a little bit of, I don't know that anybody else tries to do it that way. We're trying to be a person that they can call if they're thinking about something 3 months, 6 months. That's our goal. Call us if you're thinking about something, and we'll tell you what we can do.
Hey there, it's Greg Essenmacher, host of the Two Sleuth podcast and founder of G&A Consult. At G&A, we specialize in transforming full arch dental practices, teaching, coaching, and training teams to deliver an exceptional patient experience, from that first call to delivering final smiles. Whether you're a practice owner, a DSO executive, or a regional leader looking to expand your full arch program, boost same-store sales, or unlock the true profitability of full arch cases, we've got you covered. Ready to see how full arch can elevate your practice? Visit the show page or book a discovery call today. Let's turn your potential into results. Well, and it's a both and approach, just like at G&A Consult, right? So it's increase the revenue, right? Which is what you were just talking about there. And it's reducing costs, right? So our philosophy is the teach, coach, and train, increase the number of arches, increase the revenue. And the reason why that's so important is the first handful, you're still trying to absorb a lot of the fixed costs. And then arch number 5, 6, 7, right, the margins on those are insanely good, right? Much higher, right? That's why you're going after it in a very simplified version. And then on the other side, which is our operations side that we work on, it's the P&L side, right? Reducing the cost, because for those of you that want to super geek out on this part of it, right? So for every dollar saved, it's $5 on the EBITDA, right? Just to have that right out there and pretend that I'm really smart and that I'm, smarter than I am to somebody that I'm talking to that's a CFO level CPA guy. But one of the things that you said there, which so aligns with what we do, is custom, right? To customize it. There's so much cookie cutter and throw it at them and you figure it out for your savings and where to find where you can really make a difference. And that just doesn't work. If individuals, practice owners, small groups, they're so overburdened and overwhelmed. And I talk about this all the time. If you're going to be a good vendor partner, a good industry partner for anyone, take on that load. And now I'm speaking not necessarily to clinicians, office managers, or any people who are consumers of products. Now I'm talking to all my manufacturing folks, all of my industry partners out there. Do the work. If you want to build trust and relationships, do the work. Don't just tell them what they need to do. Do it with them, for them, collaborate with them, bring the solutions and show them the solutions and implement the solutions, execute on that. And I think that's so important. And the other piece that you said, which I love too, was the measured approach. Let's look at 3 to 6 things. And let's take a look at where you are and where you stack up in industry standard. And then let's look at the next. And if they ask, well, what we find with our clients are, here's some areas that get the most bang for the buck. And that is another way that we're working with clients too. So there's so much alignment there. I really love that. So now here's the piece that I want to push back a little bit, for on behalf of my listening audience, because I'm sure this is, well, you've heard this before, but, put up your defensive walls, put on your boxing gloves. Here comes a sucker punch for you. Yeah. This is just true, right? Well, I really love this, and this. My 2x2, it doesn't fray. And I've tried another one and it does, and it leaves little hairs and whatnot behind it. I mean, whether that's true or not, right? I'm not as clinical as I pretend to be. But that's one of the biggest concerns, right? Is that, they're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I like certain things. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think the nice thing about our approach is, the office owner is completely in charge of decision making. We're presenting options and different considerations, but they can always say, I don't want to do that. And what we found sometimes is when you've got an office that wants to grow and adds associates, sometimes the answer is different for the associates. So you're looking at the doctor, I'm going to do this, the owner, this, and this. But then let me see, if I can add this much to my cash flow, if I standardize things, try not to throw things away because this one wants this and this one wants this, they start to understand, some of the decision making that comes with a growing DSO, whether it's 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, whatever it is, that's where we try to help them. We try to understand it. And sometimes if we get someone closer to retirement that wants to try to figure out an exit strategy in 5 years, some of the things that they were holding close to the heart early on, now, okay, if I can save $50,000 and I get 10 times earnings, that's an additional $500,000 when I exit. So now, all of a sudden, they wouldn't do it. Now,
They're
that's
not
such a
so
bad
passionate
idea.
about that.
Yeah, so I mean, we have those discussions too. And we help startups. I think that's the other thing that our founder really wanted to help. He wanted to keep helping independent dentists get into the profession, grow their office. If they're starting from scratch, try to help them build up to develop their cash flow. So we really work well with startup offices.
Yeah, and I love that too. It's not just a matter of, great, let's give you all the products right now. And it's not, let's switch everything over right now. And understanding the journey, just like we talk about the patient journey, what you're talking about is a client's journey, right? Because if there is a transition that's going to happen, how to streamline, maybe if there are a handful of niche products that a particular clinician has loved and enjoyed for the last 20, 30 years of his career, and realizing maybe there's some things to transition to be more industry regular, right? Maybe I won't say standard, but industry regular or common that isn't so common in that particular person, so that the practice isn't person-centric, it's more process or system-centric or industry-centric. And so is that even a word, industry-centric, or am I just making up words? I make up words all the time. I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to check myself on that.
At any time we find sometimes the owner wants to try some different things. Not that they'll take them, but okay, I can save 20% on this. Let's see, the brands look pretty good. Can I try one? And we'll help facilitate them doing that, because a change, a cotton roll price to a cotton roll price is one thing, but brands sometimes we have deals with certain manufacturers. So we could get a great savings that the doctors, I can't believe I can get it for that cost, right? So they switch brands. So we try to help that as we go forward too, trying to help them look at it more from a business perspective. What's the right thing? What do you like? And then do the cost benefit. This one's here, it does this one's here. If they like it and it's 20% less, it may make sense to move there. So we kind of have helped them in that area too.
Well, and I was, talking specifically to like industry partners a moment ago, and now I'm going to duck and cover for the Rotten Tomatoes they're going to throw and defend my practices here for a second. Also, under that philosophy of what you just shared for trying a new brand product, right? It's a little easier if you go through a middleman, right? Because if you try a product from a manufacturer, what happens for the next 6, 8, 12 months? Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Can I just get a few minutes of the doctor's time? Can I just get a few minutes of the doctor's time? Can I just get a few minutes of the doctor's time? And 9 times out of 10, no. 99 times out of 100, it's not the doctor. It's the gatekeepers up front. It's the front desk. It's the office manager that's having to play defense and lob that ball back over and over and over and over again. That's disrupting the flow of the practice. So again, I'm ducking because I know, like, being on that side of the fence for a long time before I had my consulting business at G&A Consult. So yes, I will gladly take all of those comments in the socials that I'm going to get from every single one of you. Bring it on. I've got thick skin. I can take it. Anyway, Guy, this is the part of the program. All of my guests play a little something called What the Sleuth is Going On. It's 3 rapid fire questions.
I'm ready.
First thing that comes to mind, are you ready to play?
No. Yes, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play.
I love a Lions fan and a Wolverine who's willing to just be like, no, I'm not ready to play. I'm not going to do it. Too bad. If you want this to air, well, if anybody's listening to this, he was forced into this against his will. All right, here we go, buddy. Question number 1. What's the worst bad breath you've ever encountered?
Let's see. I would have to say it's my French bulldog. Just gets really close to my face, and I don't know what the hell it's made of. I think fish is part of it, but something's going on there. It's like by far. I think one of the reasons is the proximity. It's right there, and you love the little guy. I love the little guy, but that's an issue. I've tried these little things you put on your finger and you rub it around in their mouth, and it seems
That
to come
never
back
works.
within a couple of days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that never works. Well, it was interesting because, in your pre-note submission, you talked about your grandkids being the love of your life. And my first grandson is coming in July. I don't know why I had in my head, I'm like, he's going to say his own and one of his grandbabies, like, or his grandkids, like backing away from him. I was just going to throw it out there, but hey, I'm calling you out on that, guy. I'm just saying, I don't know. Maybe I was looking for that answer. I was digging for it. Anyway.
No, no, it's definitely. I have no hesitation. I have no hesitation. In fact,
And
I
how
think
many
about it a lot.
grandchildren
I
do you
go,
have? Let's get that in there. How many grandkids do you
wow,
have?
I have
How
three.
many?
So, yeah.
Oh, all right.
8,
I can't
6,
I
and
can't
1.
wait. I can't wait for my first one. All right, question number 2. If you could change one thing about your smile, what would it be?
It's funny because we've got some partnered vendors that we chat with, and I think one of the things that I'm really finding in the aligner side of things is now the focus on like minor corrections. And I think it was a focus that dental offices didn't take advantage of. They didn't mention it to the patient. And I think what you're going to find going forward is they're starting to try to address this, both the price wise and the quality appliance wise, where you can get some minor corrections that a dentist may not think are a big deal, but a patient may say, gosh, you can do that. You can fix this little thing here. And that's kind of what I think the bottom teeth, I've got a little crowding there. And and this is all within the last few months that we've been talking about trying to, open our members' eyes up to that opportunity. That there's segment of business that your office may not be giving the patient the option to think about. And maybe because it's not clinically necessary, but it may be cosmetically necessary. So I think that's one thing that I thought about. And it kind of came as a result of another revenue opportunity for our members.
I love it, right? Personal and practical for business. I love that. And I had clear aligner therapy like 15, 16 years ago, and it was a lot of trays, a lot of clear aligner trays.
Yeah.
That was a while ago too. So I'm sure it's different now and is evolved. But I can tell, and I've been loyal. Like I wear my retainers at night and have since I got out of like that therapy and my teeth were not, and still the drift. Like I definitely need to go through like a refinement. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Maybe after the show we'll talk about like who your partners are, because I know we do some business together. So yeah, maybe we'll have that conversation. All right, question number 3. Back to the show. Question number 3: if you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product, and no, you can't choose your own, which one would you choose and why?
Dental product. I'm kind of geeky though, so mine probably wouldn't be one that people would pick.
Sure.
But what I
Sure.
really like
First
is,
thing that comes to mind. That's the rule
yeah,
before we started playing.
yeah. Oh, so the first thing that came to mind was AI. I really think that AI, and I think AI is going to be developed further in the future and become better and better. But I really like the AI impact of being able to sit down with a patient, have all the areas coded, have like almost you're showing AI and the doctor's opinions, and you're kind of merging the two together. And I think it just makes the patient comfort level get much higher about, especially if it's an expensive treatment plan and you can see what's going on and it's all color coded, and you can this is my mouth and this is it. So I really think that's going to be huge in the future. I think it's getting huge now, but I think it's even going to get better in more dental offices in the future.
The part that I love about AI is that it's going to take a lot of the education explanation piece and put it into understandable terms for
Right.
patients and free up the time, more time for the clinicians, the treatment coordinators to focus more on the emotional connection and more on spending time on the connection with the patients. That's the piece that really excites me, because I speak a lot about this, about, case acceptance is really driven by patient experience, and patient experience is driven by team development. And it's going to be on those soft skills that are going to really drive the experience that's going to start to change. And if AI is that helper to enhance that, by removing the need to be able to explain and educate in terms, right? Because that panel, that's just different scales
Right.
of gray, is so difficult. But when you start to infuse that and educate in a way that reduces the amount of time necessary for that explanation and frees up the time to be able to make those connections with patients and really be able to comfort and guide them, that's really where, especially in full arch in my lane, which is so critically important. The future is very bright, and I'm very excited about what that can do. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I love that answer. Well, Guy, in the last few minutes, please go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I think with doing that and then going through the treatment planning and scheduling the stuff to be finished, that puts you way ahead by having this almost. You implant knowledge into the patient going into the treatment plan discussion, where they feel much more comfortable and they're not worried about so much, should I get this done? Should I double check? Should I go to 3 other people and ask them what they think?
Yeah, it's just such a valuable tool, and all the tools in the tool belt, being able to use that on the education side and being able to share with that. So there's a belief and knowledge both at the same time being shared with the patient. I agree wholeheartedly. In the last few minutes, Guy, is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd love to share with my listening audience before we part ways today?
No, I think the only thing is, if an office, if you're 1 to 5 locations, we're not a hard sale organization. We want somebody to join because they like us, and we want to help independent dental offices. So our member service group is geared up to do a bunch of stuff in the first 90 days when somebody comes aboard with that customized plan. And we welcome people to see if we can help them. We know that we won't be a fit for everybody, but I think we can really help figure out how to add to the EBITDA line or the cash flow line of an office.
And what's the easiest way for them to do so?
Our website is www.unifiedsmiles.com. We've been around since 2012. There's an ability to schedule an appointment with someone, or if someone can reach out to me, I'll direct you in the proper way. My email is guy.flannery@unifiedsmiles.com.
Perfect. And you can certainly reach out to the show. We'll have that in the show notes, or they can reach out to me personally. You can find me on all the socials and LinkedIn, because we're a good friend of Unified Smiles and believe not only in what you're able to do for practices, but believe in your mission and philosophy. And we just love you guys over at Unified Smiles. Thank you so much, Guy, for being on today on the Two Sleuth podcast. It's been enjoyable. And go Blue, go Lions.
Go Blue. Thanks, Greg.
Be sure to tune in to our next episode of the Tooth Sleuth podcast. If you need help with converting lead calls into consults, closing consults into more full arch cases, or creating a more strategic marketing message and branding for your practice or group, follow me for more tips, or reach out to G&A Consult for a discovery call today.